In the early years of the 1700s, white pioneers and settlers began a massive push westward under the watchful gaze of a suspicious Indian nation. During those formative years of westward expansion, an uncomfortable peace prevailed among the Indians and the white multitudes. Indian claims to their lands were violated countless number of times as squatters and pioneers moved westward. Angered tribes retaliated with violence, which only led to white assaults upon the Indian nations. This served to increase the Indians' fury. For over a century, historians have recounted numerous colorful tales of such fierce conflict between Indian nations and white settlers. Many of these stories have been greatly embellished over the years, embellished to the extent that the true stories of the various Indian wars may be lost for all time. The conflict between the Indian and white man began in earnest and would rage for over 100 years as the wars spread across the plains, and legends on both sides were born. One of the greatest legends was that of General George Armstrong Custer. George Armstrong Custer was born the son of a village blacksmith in New Rumley, Ohio, December 5, 1839. As a young boy, Custer cultivated a love for horses and an interest in military-oriented novels. In July of 1857, George Armstrong Custer attained his boyhood goal of being admitted to the United States Military Academy at West Point. In this Warner Brothers epic, Santa Fe Trail, George Custer was portrayed by former U.S. President Ronald Reagan.
William Pender, here. Charles Sawtell, here. Jeb Stewart, yep. George Custer, yep. George Pickett, here.
As a West Point cadet, Custer was unruly and undisciplined. He maintained an arrogant and independent attitude. He ran up a list of demerits equal to none: talking in ranks, being boisterous in barracks, visiting rooms without permission, and being discovered off-limits were but a few of his numerous indiscretions.
Colonel Lee, any blame in this matter is entirely upon me. It's my sole responsibility, sir.
That's not quite true, sir. It was my fault. If I believed that you were guilty alone, Stewart, I should have sent for you alone. As for you, Custer, and the rest of you, you must be taught that lying to protect a friend is sometimes an extremely dangerous practice. I'm not so greatly concerned about the fight itself as I am about its cause. All 7 of you men have violated the first sin of military conduct, the traffic and violent exchange of political ideas, which are not the affairs of an American soldier. You must be punished, and punished severely.
Very possibly, Ronald Reagan's vision of Custer, portrayed as a braggart in the Santa Fe Trail, is closer in historical accuracy to Custer's true personality. For a period, Custer wrote a series of articles in which he relived and often embellished tales of former battles, hoping to advance his status in history books. These articles were published as My Life on the Plains.
Tough luck, son. I guess we can't all have charm, and good looks, too. Custer, I hope you're joking, or you're not going to have either. Oh, don't take it so hard. I mean, this is something that could happen to the public.
Charlotte, I want you to meet Captain Custer and Captain Stewart. This is Charlotte Davis. We were schoolmates together in Boston.
It's a pleasure, Miss Davis.
Thank you, Captain.
Yes, indeed. A great pleasure.
I've heard so much about you, Captain Custer.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, well, that is, well, that is,
Shall we dance, Jim?
yes, of course. Who is she?
That's the blonde. The one that George was promised by old Stiff in the Mud.
Oh, I see. Well, there I was, right out in the middle of Kansas, facing 500 crazy fanatics, heavily armed, and me with only 15 soldiers.
Good heavens, Captain, how terrifying. What did you do?
I sized up the situation at a glance, dismounted, and walked straight toward him.
Not alone.
My dear young lady, there comes a time in every soldier's life when he must stand or fall alone. And if you knew the Army, you'd understand that he who hesitates is lost.
Wow, simply wonderful, Captain.
Oh, it was nothing, really.
Would you come and meet my father, Captain?
I'd be delighted. Is he in the government service?
Yes, but I think he'll lose the job in the next election.
Oh, that's too bad. Say, he should be in the Army. You know, politics don't bother us.
He'd rather go fishing anyway. Father.
Hello, Charlotte.
Hello, Colonel Lee.
Hi, dear.
Father, I'd like you to meet Captain George Custer.
Oh, but of course I met the captain at West Point when he graduated, didn't I?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Custer.
I'm fine, Colonel Lee.
We've heard good things about you. Congratulations.
Yes, the captain's just been telling me how he put down the trouble in Kansas by himself.
Splendid job, Pile, splendid. Wasn't there also a chap named Stewart, Jeb Stewart, connected with that campaign?
Stewart? Yes, sir. He was around. Shall we dance?
It was during the Civil War that George Custer demonstrated his military potential. He had boundless energy and an ability to make the correct decision in moments of crisis. Custer personally participated in numerous dangerous battles, often leading charges. Custer began the Civil War as a lieutenant in the 2nd Cavalry. Again and again, he was cited for gallantry above and beyond the call of duty. He displayed heroism and excellent military tactics at the battles of Bull Run, Arlington Heights, and Williamsburg. After the Battle of Chickahominy Swamp, he was promoted to captain on June 5, 1862. During the infamous Battle of Antietam, Custer's hit-and-run tactics left the Confederates stunned, and many called it Custer's Raid. There came a point when many thought that the Confederates, led by the legendary Jeb Stuart, would overrun the North. But on June 17, 1863, Custer caught up with Stuart and defeated him at Aldie. On June 26th, Custer was appointed Brigadier General and was called the Boy General. As general and leader of the 2nd Michigan Brigade, Custer took part of the historic Battle of Gettysburg. Later, he was wounded at Culpeper Courthouse, where he yelled out, "I cannot be killed." All of this would lead to the final Battle of Appomattox Courthouse, where Custer would take the white flag of truce on Palm Sunday, April 9, 1865. Following Lee's surrender, Custer drafted a farewell to his troops, the 3rd Cavalry Division. Custer wrote, "During the past 6 months, although in most instances confronted by superior numbers, you have captured from the enemy in open battle 111 pieces of artillery, 65 battle flags, and upwards of 10,000 prisoners, including 7 general officers. You have never lost a gun, never lost a color, and have never been defeated. Following the Civil War, General William T. Sherman took command of the Army and spoke in terms of extermination as a solution to ongoing Indian problems. One of Sherman's generals, Philip Sheridan, was deemed an expert at ruthless destruction. Assigned to the extermination task, Sheridan enlisted the aid of his favorite officer, George Armstrong Custer. Custer had become a victim of the Reconstruction period and the near state of anarchy following Lincoln's assassination. He was appointed Chief of Cavalry, Military Department of Texas, but in January of 1866, George Custer was demoted to the rank of captain and ordered back to Washington. In July of 1866, through the persuasion of General Grant, Custer was commissioned lieutenant colonel of the newly raised 7th Cavalry, one of the 10 new regiments created by Congress for duty in the South and the western frontier to fight hostile Indians. The push to confine Indians to reservations was a bloody one. An example of Custer's methods is reflected by his surprise attack on an Oklahoma Cheyenne Indian encampment in November of 1868. Custer's attack on the sleeping village was denounced by many as nothing more than a massacre of friendly Indians. Captives taken by Custer were marched through freezing snow for miles, only to be passed in review before General Sherman. Custer's Civil War exploits versus his war on the Indian paint a contrary portrait of Custer the man. Such differences in character are strongly in evidence when comparing filmizations of Custer's life. As an example, first, take a look at Errol Flynn as Custer in They Died with Their Boots On.
Michigan, charge! The greatest cavalry regiment the world has ever known, thundering to battle to the rousing tempo of their own fighting song, writing history with the flashing strokes of their sabers. Men who'd rather die with their boots on than see their flag crumpled in defeat. All under the flaming command of the man they'd follow straight to Hades, General George Custer. From amazing triumphs on Civil War battlefields to lightning attacks against the warring Indian tribes of Dakota's Black Hills, it's Errol Flynn in his greatest role, reliving the glorious adventures of America's Golden Cavalier.
Between 1858 and
Now,
1878,
in the more recent
Jack Crabb
film,
was an Indian
Little
warrior,
Big Man,
a preacher's
Custer is
boy,
presented in a
gun
totally
fighter,
unfavorable
drunkard,
light.
a hermit, and he tried to kill General Custer.
Take him away and hang him.
And you can believe as much of that as you want. Dustin Hoffman plays Jack Crabb,
Throw 3.
and he plays him for real. After real, after real, after real, in Little Big Man.
You murdered fool! Got to cut your throat to get it through your head. I'm a white man. White? Sure I'm white.
Dustin Hoffman and General Custer, Reel 13.
Take my advice. Go west.
My wife, she's awful scared of Indians.
My dear woman, you have nothing to fear from the Indians. I give you my personal guarantee. Savages! I am on board!
Arthur Penn, who gave you The Miracle Worker, Bonnie and Clyde, and Alice's Restaurant, has created 15 reels of motion picture entertainment called Little Big Man.
Oh!
Oh, you devil.
Oh!
Onward! To Little Big Horn!
In view of ongoing Indian atrocities, real or imagined, Custer became fiercely determined to comply with General Sherman's directives. To combat the Indian, Custer had built the 7th Cavalry into a crack team of 800 troops. This force of sharpshooters would begin to dominate the Indians, successfully forcing them back into their designated territories. General Sherman noted, no better time could possibly be chosen than now for destroying or humbling those bands who have violated their treaties. Get hold of them and obliterate them. The Western serial Custer's Last Stand, which was produced in the 30s, is your typical Western serial, filled to the hilt with Western heroes, ridiculous Western legends, Indian maidens, double-dealing white men, incredible chases that often led to huge crashes, white women in peril, the kid's sidekick, incredible stunts, daring fisticuffs, and moments of incredible tension. This serial also featured such Western legends as Buffalo Bill Cody, who in fact was a scout for General Custer. Also hanging around was Wild Bill Hickok, Calamity Jane, and of course, General George Armstrong Custer. The serial sparked a new interest in the Custer legend and ushered in a rebirth of novelizations and comic book adventures about the man. In this serial, Custer tries to rally the Indians to the side of the white man. In a brotherly gesture, he smokes the peace pipe with them. Unfortunately, Custer's foes incite the Indians, leading to a bloody uprising.
We welcome our red brothers to our humble village. Speak.
We come for Blue Crow, my brother, and 2 braves taken in Black Pool.
Yellow hair, fair, red brother and me. I speak the name of white man.
Who shall fire water to brave?
Speak, and freedom will be thy reward.
I speak for peace of my village and pale-faced brothers.
The name of the man is...
On the west gate!
Ironically, Custer left his fort only once in this entire serial, leading to Custer's Last Stand.
Captain Benteen?
Yes, sir.
You'll take companies H, E, and K. Swing far to the left and sweep all Indians before you.
Very good, sir.
Captain McDougal?
Yes, sir.
You will remain behind with the packs and bring them up on my order. Very well, sir. Major Reno, you will take companies A, B, D, G, H, and M. Cross the divide with me and strike the village in the upper end. I will support you with my entire command.
Very well, sir.
We located the village, General, but I don't like the looks of things at all. Any idea how many are in it?
Can't say, General, but there's room for plenty.
Ah, the more the merrier. Custer's luck rides today. We'll surprise him, Kit. I want you and Buckskin to ride with Major Reno's command. It's all the same to you, General. I'd rather ride with you. I don't like this situation at all.
Has Mrs. Custer been talking to you again, Kit?
No, sir. I've ordered Major Reno to cross the ford and strike. I want to make sure he gets across. You understand. Yes, sir.
Take the cover, men, or you'll be cut to pieces. General Custer wants us to cross the fords immediately, Major Reno, and you take an order from me. Retreat! That's General Custer's orders. I said retreat! Yes, sir.
Know how many Indians are in those trees, Robert?
No, sir.
We'll clean them out. Charge! Start off the volley. Ready. Fire! Ready. Fire!
Lieutenant, I just heard General Custer's signal. And Reno's retreating. Listen.
Fire!
There it is again. We ought to try to get to General Custer immediately. My troops will go with you, Cardigan. Go on, Lieutenant.
Forward! Double back!
Head! Major Reno, General Custer's been wiped out. There's 6,000 Indians charging down on you. What's your orders now? I've established a scout detail in the vicinity of Black Pool. Go to them, Cardigan, and get help. Yes, sir. Come on, Buckskin.
Chief Sitting Bull was the spiritual leader of the Sioux Nation. He, with Chief Crazy Horse, had become dissatisfied with the many violations of territorial rights on their assigned reservation, the Black Hills of Dakota. The announcement that gold had been recently discovered in the Black Hills triggered a mad dash by white men seeking instant riches. The Sioux became more hostile, to the extent that Army scouts believed an Indian uprising was imminent. George Custer, having great success in operating against the Indian, was assigned to take charge of the expedition against the hostile Sioux. Sitting Bull was the only Indian who succeeded in bringing together various Indian tribes. In this case, he united the Sioux and the Cheyenne, led by Crazy Horse. The following excerpts are from the motion picture Sitting Bull, starring J. Carrol Naish as the infamous Indian chief.
These are the Black Hills of Dakota. The Sioux Indians named this land. It is their word for friendly. There are 7 warrior tribes in the Sioux Nation, and I have prayed that Dakota and its hills would be too rough for the white man and his plows. But once again, the white man comes. I watch their coming with a sad heart. There are few now, but I know that many will come, for they seek the white man's treasure, gold. I am Sitting Bull, the leader of the Sioux Nation. My people are spread to the far corners of our land. This is Crazy Horse, my warrior chieftain. And these are some of my people. See, Crazy Horse, the wagons come without scouts ahead. These men come to our land as if they owned it.
They're like white man's cattle, full bellies, stupid and slow.
But there is food in the wagon. This our people need more than they need fresh scouts.
The George Custer, depicted in the movie Sitting Bull, is shown as being proud and extremely arrogant.
Well, Major?
That man and his bunch were in Sioux territory. My orders were to ride patrol for just such a violation of the Indian Treaty.
An officer, Major, is supposed to be able to exercise a certain amount of initiative. As a member of my regiment, I issued you your orders. I did not set them in concrete.
And my head isn't set in concrete either. For the sake of a bunch of ragtail prospectors that could have ridden the whole command into an ambush.
Give me the full report, Major.
Those people use this fort to buy their supplies in. Then they line their teeth about where they're going. They go into Sioux territory and slaughter their game, foul their water, and shoot every Indian they see if he's old or harmless enough. And the treaties, they don't mean anything to them. They're just words on paper.
Admitting every word of that to be true, it's outside your province as a soldier. We are all here to obey orders.
And orders seem to be something of a stumbling block for you. Major, you've been a burr under my saddle ever since you came west. You were an aide to General Grant when I first knew you, a colonel. Now you seem to be traveling downwards in rank.
Well, we seem to be traveling the same direction, Colonel Custer. You used to be a general.
Gentlemen, that's enough. Colonel Custer has suggested an assignment for you, Major.
You're going back where Sioux raiders aren't likely to bother you.
The assignment is the Red Rock Agency.
Red Rock.
Period of duty is 1 year.
Refuse the assignment, and I suggest you turn in your resignation.
You'll pull out tomorrow, Major. Relieve the troop at the agency, police the Indians there. Any questions?
No, sir. And thank you, sir.
When a man draws his arrow at an enemy, He must shoot. When I dip my fingers in the war paint, it will mean war. But this I counsel you. Gather all the nations together before you draw the first arrow. It will seem easy to drive back the men who want the yellow stones. But if we fight them, we must fight the long knives, their soldiers. So this I counsel you. Send runners to all the nations of the Sioux, to the Cheyenne, to the Crow, who have been our enemies. Send runners to all our cousins. Send them now, Crazy Horse. Gather all our armies. We will make sure our boys strong before we fit the arrow.
Reno, you will proceed to the Little Bighorn. You'll hold at Medicine Creek. You should get a good view of the Sioux camp from that position.
Very good, sir.
Your orders were to hold here, sir.
That'll be enough, Captain. Captain Benteen, you'll proceed as rear guard to Major Reno. All right, gentlemen, move out.
Very good, sir. I'd advise you not to move so close, sir.
Captain Parrish, did you read General Howell's orders?
Yes, sir.
And you know those orders transferred you back under my command. You also know more about these miners than anyone else. Therefore, I'm giving you an order to clear them out of this immediate area. You'll be responsible for their safety.
But my place is here.
Captain, are you refusing an order?
No, sir.
You know, gentlemen, I was just thinking. The Indians should attack. This is not a position I would choose to hold.
As a civilian, Colonel Custer, might I have a word in this?
Naturally.
Captain Parrish was certain, sir, that the Indians had no plan to attack.
Maybe not. I intend to swing off here. Major Reno will hold at the Little Bighorn. Captain Benteen will join him as planned. That force will be the anvil. We'll cut through the hills, hit the river well above Major Reno and his men. We'll be the hammer. The Indians will then be between us. If anything should go wrong, if they should attack, the hammer will strike the anvil, and heaven help anything that's in between.
But Parrish says there are thousands of Indians, sir. Many more than your scouts have reported.
Mr. Wentworth, Captain Parrish is notorious for his overestimate of all facts. Gentlemen, mount your troops. The scouts will ride the ridges. We are moving forward.
Yellow hair scouts.
Don't let him get away. Shoot him down.
Go. Make your war. Dakota!
Follow me!
Bigger army of Long Knives. Where are they?
Downriver, trapped like these, fighting.
This is the end of Yellowhead.
Following Custer's defeat at Little Bighorn, rumors of surviving cavalry troops surfaced. Most tales of deserters or escapees of the battle were untrue. However, rumors which evolve into legends die hard, particularly when kept alive by films such as The 7th Cavalry.
But you're not dead, are you, Captain Benson?
Seems as if you do your best fighting in the officers' quarters.
We're not going to sit here and get what Custer got. We're getting out. You're going to stay here and carry out orders. You going to stop us, Captain? All by yourself?
You are defiling sacred ground.
The great chief of my people has ordered me to bring Yellow Hair home, to lie among his own kind and honored rest.
My people will never let him go.
History books chronicle that following Custer's defeat, the jubilant Indian warriors rode over the bodies of the fallen, firing bullets and shooting arrows into the lifeless corpses. Indian squaws stripped all of the cavalry of their clothing. Many bodies were savagely mutilated by the tribes. The general's brother, Tom Custer, was mangled beyond recognition. He was scalped, his head was crushed, and his heart and liver were carved away. Custer's body, however, out of respect for his stature as a brave warrior and leader of the cavalry, was not mutilated, as were the other fallen. As the bodies of the 7th Cavalry's fallen lay on their last battlefield, the Sioux and Cheyenne celebrated their victory with a traditional tribal dance. 2 days following Custer's fall, troops arrived to count and bury the dead. The next months would bring a flurry of allegations and accusations. It was learned that Custer had been given misinformation as to the number of Indians prepared for battle. Custer encountered 3 times the number he anticipated. The Indian Department also came under fire. The Sioux had been issued repeating Winchester rifles and an abundance of ammunition. The 7th Cavalrymen were merely equipped with single-shot, breech-loading Springfield carbines. Custer certainly did not expect the opposition would be so well equipped. Custer divided his regiment into 3 separate battalions, the others headed by Captain Benteen and Major Reno. Captain Benteen charged that Custer had disobeyed orders based on the fact that he dispersed the battalions in order to not have to share the glory with any of the other officers. Major Reno also charged that Custer's dividing his battalions was an act which nothing could justify, and thus recklessly drove his commands into an ambush. In 1912, the silent film Custer's Last Fight was produced by film pioneer Thomas Ince. Filmed just 36 years after the actual Battle of Little Bighorn, this early photoplay probably bore more resemblance to the actual sequence of events than any later effort. Early in 1876, the War Department undertook the task of forcing the hostile Indians to live on the reservations and planned to hem in and defeat them by forces of General Terry from the east, General Gibbon from the west, and General Crook from the south. Custer, with his regiment, the 7th Cavalry, was ordered to join General Terry's column. The serious and savage nature of the impending war was realized. Custer's troop commanders were given their orders. Terry's force of 1,200 men, including the 7th Cavalry, which numbered 600 strong, and a train of over 100 wagons, were to leave Fort Lincoln early in the morning of May 17th. Custer and the 7th were sent out on a scouting expedition on June 22nd, and they found a scalp in a deserted Indian camp. Some of Custer's scouts were Crow Indians, who were an age-old enemy of the Sioux. They picked up a fresh trail of the hostile Indians and reported it along with the location of a large encampment on the Little Bighorn River. Near noon of June 25, 1876, the column crossed the divide and advanced into the valley of the Little Bighorn. This is where Custer made the decision to split up the battalion. The Indian encampment was much larger than Custer had anticipated. It was strung out for 3 miles down the valley. Major Reno and his 135 men crossed the river and struck the head of the village. Reno was not experienced in fighting Indians and did not press his attack. As a result, the Indians surrounded his force with great numbers. So, Reno ordered his troops to remount and retreated to the bluffs on the right bank of the river. Chief Gall left the village with a large number of warriors and crossed the river farther down in the valley with the intention to double back and cut down Reno's force when it reached the top of the bluffs. Meanwhile, Custer and his troops continued down the valley on the high ground on the right sides of the river to give Reno support. Benteen found no Indians in the hills, so he turned towards the river. Custer pushed forward to attack the village and were surprised by Chief Gall and his warriors. Gall sent for reinforcements and got Crazy Horse to lead the Cheyennes into battle. Benteen sighted the smoke of the battle and pushed on until he joined up to aid Reno's contingent. Custer's advance was turned by the sheer mass of Gall's warriors. Crazy Horse and the Cheyennes fell on Custer's right flank. Benteen wanted to push on down the valley to aid Custer, but Reno deemed it too dangerous to leave their position. Surrounded, Custer was forced to stand the defense with his dismounted troops. Tom Custer met with a soldier's death and an Indian victim's fate when later, Rain-in-Face wrought vengeance by cutting out Tom's heart. The horses stampeded with the ammunition. Outnumbered 12-1, back to back, the troops faced the contracting, whirling circle of death. Rain-in-Face and his brother Crow King charged with Unkpapa Sioux warriors, overwhelming the field with the last wave of destruction. In less than an hour, the last brave soldier would fall. The braves fired volley after volley into the bodies of the fallen, and the squaws and youths swarmed onto the field for the ghastly work of stripping and mutilating the fallen soldiers. However, as befitting a great and brave chief, Custer's body was respected and not tampered with. The warriors left the field to aid in the attack on Reno, whose force was then increased by the pack train and guard. Sitting Bull was overjoyed when he heard the news of his great victory. The next day, Generals Terry and Gibbon arrived with their infantry. But the Indians would not fight the walking soldiers and hid away in the mountains. After relieving Reno, Terry visited Custer's battlefield 2 miles away, where the stripped bodies of the dead gleamed white in the sunlight. Of this fatal fight of June 25, 1876, the report might well be, none wounded, none missing, all dead. 212 are buried on the battlefield. The noble Custer fell, bequeathing to the nation his sword, to his comrades an example, to his friends a memory, and to his beloved a hero's name. In 1877, the government sent a party to exhume the body of General Custer. He was reburied with honors in the cemetery at West Point. Regarding Custer's last stand, General Sheridan made this official comment: "I do not attribute Colonel Custer's action to neither recklessness nor want of judgment, but to a misapprehension of the situation and to a superabundance of courage." General Sherman defended Custer's decision by stating flatly, "When Custer found himself in the presence of Indians, he could do nothing but attack."